Welcome and thank you for joining this training session covering South Africa's two-part retirement system. My name is Bint Noor Ibrahim. I am an Executive Director of Oasis Group Holdings. In this session, we will be exploring the significant legislative changes and its implications for retirement investors in South Africa. As you know, the retirement landscape is undergoing a pivotal transformation. This session will help you understand not just the legislative amendments, but also how they reshape the current environment, affect retirement planning, and introduce new opportunities for both advisors and investors. The Oasis two-part team comprises of our executive directors, Mohammed Shaheen Ibrahim, Zahra Ibrahim, and myself. Amir Abu Bakr from our Legal and Compliance Department, Abdul Ghani from our Administration team, as well as Wealth Manager Ibrahim Rawoot. We will present an overview of the current rulings, setting the stage for the legislative changes. We will then explore what these changes mean for you in practical terms, including the tax implications. Our goal today is to provide you with clear, actionable insights and equip you with the knowledge to navigate this new system with confidence. Each section will guide you through specific aspects of the two-part system. Whether you are a seasoned individual or new to the industry, this session will enhance your understanding and prepare you in order to make informed decisions and offer insightful guidance. Let us begin by exploring the current environment and the foundational rules that led to this change. I will pass on to Zahra Ibrahim, who will go through the current rulings for each retirement product.
Thank you for the introduction. Before we commence on the reforms regarding the new two-part system, let us look at the current rules relating to the various retirement funds. For members in a retirement annuity fund, access is limited to the earliest age of retirement being 55 years. Earlier access could be granted if the value of the RA is less than 15,000 Rand, or if the member emigrates or ceases to be a resident, or if a member goes through a divorce, amongst others. At retirement, should the amount be above the de minimis amount of 247,500 Rand, the member would be allowed to withdraw a maximum of 1/3 in cash and utilize the remaining portion to purchase an annuity from a registered life insurer. For members of an occupational pension fund, access to your retirement savings is only allowed when the employer-employee relationship ceases to exist. This could be brought about by resignation, retrenchment, or retirement. If the member resigns or is retrenched, they will be allowed to take the full benefit in cash subject to the withdrawal tax tables, or they could preserve benefits in a preservation fund, or they could transfer their pension fund to their new employer pension fund. If the member preserves their benefits, they will be allowed to exercise a once-off pre-retirement withdrawal. As previously mentioned, with the retirement annuity, when retiring from a pension or preservation pension fund, should the amount be above the de minimis amount of 247,500 Rand, the member would be allowed to withdraw a maximum of 1/3 in cash and the remaining portion utilized to purchase an annuity from a registered life insurer. Moving on to the occupational provident funds. When a member resigns or is retrenched, they will be allowed to take the full benefit in cash subject to the withdrawal tax tables, or they could preserve the benefits in a preservation fund, or they could transfer their provident fund to their new employer provident fund. For those members that preserve their provident fund in a preservation provident fund, the member is also allowed to make a once-off pre-retirement withdrawal subject to the withdrawal tax tables. Unlike the RA, pension and preservation pension funds at retirement, the member would be allowed to withdraw up to the full benefit in cash, subject to tax as per the retirement tax tables. However, should the member only withdraw a portion of the benefit in cash, the remaining benefits will be used to purchase an annuity from a registered life insurer. Now we will look what has happened in 2021, where the government passed some of the retirement reforms to harmonize the tax treatment and annuitization of the different kinds of retirement funds. As from March 2021, Provident Fund members who were under the age of 55 years, their contribution going forward plus growth would be deemed as non-vested benefits. This amount would now need to be annuitized at retirement, bringing provident funds to be aligned to pension and retirement annuity funds at retirement. For those benefits accumulated till the 28th of February 2021, plus all future growth, these would be deemed as vested benefits, and for this the old rulings would still apply, where the member has the option of withdrawing the full benefit in cash. Members who were 55 years or older on the 1st of March 2021 and were still members of the same Provident Fund, they were excluded from this harmonization. They therefore only have vested benefits. My colleague Amir will give us an update on the legislative changes that has brought about the introduction of the two-pot retirement system.
Thank you, Zahra. In this section, we delve into the legislative changes that have laid the foundation for the two-pot system. These amendments were introduced by the South African government to facilitate greater flexibility in the current framework for retirement funds. Under the new legislation, which has been carefully crafted to protect both investors and their respective savings, you can now access a portion of your retirement fund without the need to resign from your current employer. This provision is particularly important for those individuals who are facing a financial emergency, as it allows them to draw from the savings pot of their retirement fund. The savings pot forms one of the two pots created by this system, and it represents a fraction of the total assets in your retirement fund. The majority of your retirement fund will remain within the retirement pot, which you will only be able to access when you are of retirement age, irrespective of whether you decide to leave or stay with your current employer. In his 2024 National Budget speech, the Finance Minister highlighted the importance of this reform, stating that the first cash withdrawals from the savings pot could be made starting from 1 September 2024. The necessary amendments to the Income Tax Act and the Pension Funds Act have been passed to facilitate the implementation of the two-pot system. Therefore, as of 1 September 2024, all retirement funds in South Africa are required by law to comply with this new system, providing members with the option to access their savings pot when needed. Note that such access is limited to a single withdrawal during each year. The South African government's broader vision with this reform is to cultivate a culture of saving among its citizens. The two-pot system is a strategic initiative aimed at promoting financial discipline while recognizing the realities of life's uncertainties. By legally mandating that a portion of retirement savings, referred to as the retirement pot, remains untouched until retirement, the government ensures that members are protected from depleting their savings prematurely. In summary, the two-pot retirement system is a reform that offers flexibility, security, and support. It allows members to access their savings in times of need without jeopardizing their retirement goals. As we move towards the implementation date of 1 September 2024, it's essential to understand how this system will impact the financial future, where a withdrawal from your savings pot will ultimately result in a decrease in the amount that you will be able to draw during retirement. In addition, it is important to note that retirement funds enjoy beneficial tax treatment. So any withdrawal from your retirement fund prior to taking retirement will in most cases result in an increased tax liability. To go through the mechanics of how the two-pot system works, its various components and features, I now hand over to Bint Noor.
Thank you, Amir. Now that we have a good understanding of the rules for the different retirement funds, as well as the government's changes by the 1st of September 2024, let's look at how the two-pot system would work. The system would comprise of three components, being the vested, retirement, and savings. Let's look at these components separately. The vested component is the total of all retirement savings in the various retirement funds as at the 31st of August 2024. No future contributions would be allowed to be invested in this component from the 1st of September 2024. It will only be affected by market growth. It will be subject to the rulings as discussed previously. This means if a member resigns after the 1st of September 2024 and they have a vested component, they will be able to either take the full benefit in cash, transfer to a preservation fund, or transfer to their new employer's retirement fund. On retirement, should the vested component be above the de minimis amount of 247,500 Rand, they will be able to withdraw a maximum of 1/3 in cash, and the balance will need to be utilized to purchase an annuity. The savings component will be made up of two parts. A once-off 10% of the value of the vested component as at the 31st of August 2024, capped at 30,000 Rand. This is referred to as the seed capital. Above the seed capital going forward, 1/3 of all future contributions in the fund will be allocated to the savings component. Now, this is where the accessibility has really changed with retirement funds, as a member will now be able to access the benefits in the savings component once per tax year. This is irrespective of whether the member is still in active employment. It must be highlighted that the withdrawal from the savings component will be taxed at the member's marginal tax rate. We will share some examples of this with you later in the presentation. The withdrawal is also limited to a minimum amount of 2,000 Rand, subject to tax at the member's marginal tax rate. The withdrawal can also be subject to additional administrative charges. The retirement component will be made up of the remaining 2/3 of future contributions paid to the fund after the 1st of September 2024. A member can only access this component at retirement, of which the full amount will be used to purchase an annuity. It is important to note that even upon resignation, the member will not be able to access funds from the retirement component. They will therefore only have the option of preserving these benefits until retirement. Abdul will present an example illustrating how this will work.
Thank you, Bint Noor. To recap what has been just discussed, Let's bring in an example to see how different components would work. Let's assume a member has 600,000 Rand in their retirement benefit as at 31st of August 2024. The same member makes a monthly contribution of 1,200 Rand. As discussed in the previous slides, 10% of the member's benefit capped at 30,000 Rand will be transferred to the savings pot. This 10% of the transfer to the savings pot capped at 30,000 Rand is referred to as the seed capital. In this case, since 10% of the member's total retirement benefit is 60,000 Rand, which is more than the capped amount of 30,000 Rand, the amount that will be used as seeding capital would be 30,000 Rand. Therefore, the vested component will be equal to 570,000 Rand. That is 600,000 Rand less the seed capital of 30,000 Rand. The vested component will be subject to market movement and no further contribution will be allowed. Coming to the member's monthly contribution of 1,200 Rand, 1/3 of this amount, which is 400 Rand, will also be allocated to savings component. This will be an additional inflow to the savings pot on top of the initial seeding amount that will be transferred to savings pot. The remaining 2/3 of the monthly contribution, which is 800 Rand, will be allocated to the retirement component. There are certain members that have been excluded from the two-pot system. Who are those members? Members aged 55 years or older on 1st March 2021 in a provident fund and who still remain in the same provident fund at 1st September 2024. These members will be excluded from two-pot system. These members have the option to opt into the two-pot system. However, once this option has been chosen, it cannot be reversed. Now that we know how the calculation in each component works, we must know that there are tax implications for withdrawing from the savings component. To discuss those tax implications, our next presenter, Ibrahim, will be going through the pitfalls of accessing your benefits before retirement.
Thank you, Abdul. On the example, assuming Mary Ann is 35 years old and earns taxable income of 540,000 Rand per annum and has an accumulated retirement fund benefit of 200,000 Rand where she contributes 1,200 Rand monthly. Her vested component after implementation will be 180,000 Rand with a seed capital of 20,000 Rand being 10% of the 200,000 Rand benefit. Added to a savings component of 20,000 Rand will be the 1/3 of the 1,200 Rand contribution, which is 400 Rand per month. The remaining 2/3 of the portion, which is 800 Rand per month, will be invested in her retirement component with which she can only be able to access at retirement to purchase an annuity. Mary is contemplating withdrawing from a savings component which will now be subject to her marginal tax rate. At her current earnings, she will be taxed at 36%, whereas if she keeps the benefits until retirement, the retirement tax table would apply where her first 550,000 Rand is tax-free. Now this really brings up the pitfalls of withdrawing from the savings pot and ultimately the access and funds members would have available to them at retirement. Withdrawing from your savings pot will be subject to administration fees, PAYE at the member's marginal tax rate as mentioned previously, as well as any outstanding taxes or penalties from SARS which can be levied against this amount. This makes withdrawing from the savings pot quite costly and effectively means borrowing money from your future self. So what do we mean by this? If a member is retiring from their fund, they will be taxed according to the retirement tax tables, which is anything between 0% and a maximum of 36%. However, having early access to your savings component before retirement means that the member is cashing in at a minimum rate of 18% and a maximum rate of 45%. And the difference between these two tax tables will have a significant impact on your retirement. So assuming an annual income of 520,000 Rand, if you withdraw 30,000 Rand from your savings pot before retirement, you will be charged 36% additional tax based on the marginal rate and the slab your taxable income falls into. Now, had you waited until retirement to withdraw the 30,000 Rand, you will be charged 0% tax since the first 550,000 Rand is tax-free based on your retirement tax table. Now, this equates to a saving of 36% on the 30,000 Rand you would have withdrawn from your savings pot today. Now, if you had a taxable income of 800,000 Rand, if you withdraw 30,000 Rand from your savings pot before retirement, you will be charged 39% additional tax based on your marginal tax rate. Now, assuming a retirement fund benefit of 900,000 Rand, your maximum tax charge at retirement using your retirement tax table will see the first 550,000 Rand at 0%, the next 220,000 Rand at 18%, with the remaining 130,000 Rand at 27%. And this results in an effective tax rate of 8%, resulting in a total tax saving of 31% on the 30,000 Rand withdrawal from your savings pot. And finally, if your annual income is 1.8 million Rand and you had to withdraw the 30,000 Rand from your savings pot before retirement, you will be charged 45% additional tax based on the current marginal tax table. Assuming your benefit is 1.5 million at retirement, your maximum tax charge as per your retirement tax table will see the first 550,000 Rand at 0%, the next 220,000 Rand at 18%, the following 385,000 Rand at 27%, and the remaining portion of 345,000 Rand at 36%. This results in an effective tax rate of 18%, resulting in a total tax saving of 27% on the 30,000 Rand withdrawal. Now, with all these negative tax implications, the decision to withdraw is available to members. However, remember that the core purpose of retirement funds is to preserve your money for your retirement. Therefore, members should avoid withdrawing from the savings pot unless it is absolutely necessary. It is also very punitive to note that any withdrawal from the savings pot will be taxed at your marginal tax rate, even in the instance where a member resigns. The only instance where the marginal rate will not apply will be at retirement. Members should be made aware that should they have any outstanding taxes or administrative penalties with SARS, these amounts could be offset against the withdrawal request. This means that members might walk away with much less than they anticipated from the withdrawal of their savings component. So members really should avoid the temptation of accessing their funds before retirement. And I would like to end off this section with a reminder that the two-pot system is new to the industry. There has been a lot of work done on the gearing up of the various changes that needs to be done on the administration front in order to implement these changes. Importantly, the various fund rule amendments needs to be approved by the regulator in order for administrators to implement the new system on their various funds. This might mean that not all administrators will be ready on 1 September to take on withdrawal instructions for the savings component. Advisors and clients are encouraged to get updated FICA in order to ensure the smooth processing of your application once received.
Thank you for taking the time to further your understanding of South Africa's new two-pot system impacting retirement funds. In this webinar, we covered the current rulings, discussed the legislative changes, and examined what these mean for retirement investors moving forward. We've also seen practical examples of how these amendments will work in real-world scenarios, along with the associated tax implications. As you have learned, the two-pot system is a progressive step in the retirement framework aimed to balance immediate financial access with long-term savings goals. The dual approach not only enhances retirement planning but also provides a level of financial flexibility previously unavailable to investors. Financial prudence, however, is the long-term goal, and investors should always be encouraged to save. Your role as an advisor is now more crucial than ever. With these new tools and understandings, you can guide your clients to make informed decisions that align with their financial futures. We hope this session provided the clarity and detail needed to embrace these changes confidently. Remember, continuous learning and adaptation are key to thriving in this evolving financial landscape. Thank you for your participation, and we encourage you to reach out with any further questions or clarifications. We also invite you to answer the questions relating to this webinar by clicking on the link provided. Your certification will be provided on successful completion. We thank you all once again for your time.